Oh, thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the March 16th Scotts Valley Community Advisory Committee meeting. And we call this meeting to order at this time. And what a gorgeous day. You guys all brought the weather for us and the smiles. We can't beat that. So together, I'm going to start with the roll call. Joel Coble.
I'm here.
Jarrett Hendricks.
Yeah, here.
Jody Addick, absent. Cornelia Cyber Davis, absent. Greg Scott, present. We have a quorum of over 50% of the committee members here. I make a motion to move the agenda as presented and prepared. I'll entertain a motion. Jarrett is.
I move to accept our agenda.
Joel will second.
I'd second that.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Abstentions, none. Nays, none. The agenda has been accepted for this meeting. At this time, any person wishing to speak up to 3 minutes on any subject that is not on the agenda will ask for public comment. Please do not, we do not expect an answer, but referral to future agenda items. Do we have anybody? Please say your name and where you're from and approach. You got 3 minutes. Oh, wait, you know.
Yeah, hello. Just one thing, as a member of the PEG TV board, I just want to let you guys know that we are looking into a different, right now we use Zoom for broadcasting, and we know that's not been as reliable as we would like. So we might be testing out another product. We'll let you know more when that time comes, and we'll just want to make sure you're aware that it might change, hopefully for the better, but we'll do some piloting pretty soon. So that's it.
Well, thank you. It sounds like we're moving into the future.
Yeah, we'll come kicking and screaming into the 21st century eventually. We were using smoke signals and Morse code, but now we've got Zoom. Take care.
Thank you for that information. Anybody else, public comment? Not seeing any, we'll move on to the next session. To our this year agenda.
Yep, sorry. Just on the agenda.
And we'll move on to council.
I gave you the wrong one.
No, it's the 16th, that's the right one. I've just got two different agendas. One was a proposal, so I'm trying to read through it here. We'll move on to council business, considering the draft of the 2 minutes for January 19th and February 16th.
We're going to do guest speakers first, aren't we?
There are not, no, there aren't none.
Yeah,
Are we going?
I think you're looking at the wrong agenda.
Oh, okay.
What the heck's the date today?
What was that?
What's the date today?
March 16th?
That's what I've got here, but I got, what's her name?
No, that's February.
There's no guest speakers if we have presenters later on in the program, you see.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're jumping ahead here, so.
Okay.
We have presenters coming up, but I wanted to get approval for the January 19th and the February 16th minutes. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, and second, all in favor of accepting both those minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, and the minutes have been accepted for the last 2 months. Old business to ratify the appointment of the council members of Jarrett and Greg Scott. I ask for a motion to accept those two ratifications.
So moved.
Okay, second, Jarrett?
I guess I second.
Okay, and motion carries. The board of the members have been passed. Now we're going to have a discussion of the Scotts Valley Advisory Committee bylaws, which we're going to move into the next meetings there. So today we have presenters. Maria, I'm going to turn the show over to you to lead everybody into our discussion and sharing about the Project 2050 as we are moving forward together.
Thank you. I'm going to angle this a little differently so that my back isn't to Margot. That feels rude. That feel more welcome? Yeah. Okay, good. Fortunately, my kids are old, so the eye in the back of my head isn't as well focused. So I may have to pivot to watch the, whatever you call it thing, slideshow. I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. We are presenting or introducing and proclaiming the public review period of the general plan, countywide and local area elements. The public review period started in March and it goes through the end of April. And you'll see a number of handouts that are on the table. If you haven't already gotten a set, I'm happy to have Lisa give you a set. We have a packet of slides, the pictures of the slides for today's presentation with room for notes. We have an overall timeline for the rest of the Lake County 2050 project, taking us through the end of this year. Another note. And we have a handout here that has the goals for all the countywide elements in the front, and then the goals that are listed in the Lakeport planning area elements on the second half. This is to help you zoom in on the items that the community is saying are important, both for the county-wide elements, which will cover what those are, as well as important parts for the Lakeport planning area. This is the Lakeport planning area element in its entirety, which is also available at that table. And then after I'm done with our presentation, Deputy CAO of Housing, Lisa Judd, has just a little bit of information on the pro-housing designation that the county is pursuing during the month of March. The public meetings that we've been attending for Lake County 2050 have just been such an optimal, or just a great opportunity to also talk about other long-term projects or short-term projects that require public input, and that's why Lisa's joined us today. We will get started with the presentation. Go ahead. What is the general plan? The general plan is a 20-year-long community visioning long-range planning document. It talks about what Lake County thinks are important, like our water resources, our agriculture, our geothermal resources. It also talks about things like circulation and land use. It is the community's opportunity to tell the government, tell the County of Lake, all different departments, what we really value, or what everybody values about both their community and their planning area and county-wide themes. And the reason for it is that it dictates land use for the next 20 years by talking about the priorities for land use, what we kind of like here or there on the map. And it also is used by the different departments when we apply for grants, because state funding agencies, federal funding agencies like to see that the grants that we're applying for are consistent with the community's vision. You know, that the county's not just making stuff up as it goes and applying for money, but rather we're moving forward in development in a more deliberate, thoughtful way that mirrors the will of our people. Key changes. The last general plan from 2008 had only county-wide elements in it. And as I'm sure you probably already know, Lakeport had its own Lakeport area plan. And there were 7 other area plans in our county. And they all had been updated at different times, some not since like 1990, some as late as 2010. And so the board realized that we couldn't really update the county general plan without also getting updated local area plans. And so they teamed that that priority with the understanding that sometimes people are concerned that the local area plan wasn't carrying as much weight as the general plan. And so we decided to do one very large ambitious project to upgrade both the general plan and all 8 local area plans at the same time. And not only that, but now make them all chapters in the same document. So the whole thing is going to go to the state for certification, and visually it just makes it more clear that the local area plan, which will now be a chapter and not its own standalone, is just as important as the county general plan. Go ahead. Oh, we also changed a couple names, but it's not pertinent to Lakeport. We just changed Shoreline to East Lake and Upper Lake Neese to North Lake. Oh, but you know what though? Now I'm thinking about it. There's something that I'm really glad that I saw that on the slide, because someone from the public suggested that the Lakeport area plan actually be renamed to the West Lake area plan, because it covers Scotts Valley down, surrounds the county or the city of Lakeport, but doesn't include the city, and then goes down into the South Main Street. So it includes areas that typically are thought of as part of Upper Lake, you know, like the Upper Scotts Valley. So I'd be interested to hear if you had a preference, because if that catches on to rename it Westlake, then we could present that option to the board for their consideration as well. And then it would also be kind of consistent because we have a North Lake and an East Lake, so we then have a West Lake. But I'll keep going. Just chew on that one for a minute. Okay, the overall process. I think I've kind of identified this. It talks about what the county citizens think is important and what we need to focus on as we go into the future for the next 20 years. We've had a ton of meetings. This is year 3 out of a 3-year project. And year 1 had a bunch of meetings, a public survey that we were at the fair surveying everybody who couldn't outrun us, and we were sending their surveys out through the neighborhoods and just gathering as much public input. And from that initial survey, we were able to derive a number of key issues that resonate with residents in Lake County no matter where you are in the lake, such as we love the rural nature, we love the natural beauty, we love the small business communities. Our parents want safe routes for our kids to get to school. We'd like to see more housing in Lake County, but we don't want to look like, you know, Vallejo or some of the large cities. We want to retain our rural agricultural nature. We also had a number of what I call GPAC and LAPAC meetings. GPAC is the body that the board established to oversee the county-wide elements of the general plan. So it's GPAC, General Plan Advisory Committee. And then the board also established 8 different LAPACs, which is Local Area Plan Advisory Committee. And so we had a ton of meetings with both the GPACs and the LAPACs in that first surge, that first year and into the second year, gathering all this input. Then in the second year, we were working on writing out these public review documents that you have before you now, as well as the second year was the launch of the environmental analysis for the project that is the update to all those plans. So we're doing a full EIR that is available, as well as all of these documents on the lakecounty2050.org website. That's lakecounty2050.org, and it is the hub for this entire project. It has a calendar, it has upcoming events. I think we have the videos as well as agendas of all the LAPAC and GPAC meetings. And we also have a place where when you think of a suggestion that you're going to forget to tell me tonight, or you're going to think of it probably later on tomorrow, you can go on to lakecounty2050.org, click that little link for your input, and just make sure that your thought gets captured, because we really want to hear every piece of interest to you. Our general plan switched around a little bit in its topics. On the left-hand side, you'll see those county-wide elements: housing, water resources, agricultural resources, health and safety, geothermal resources, and noise. Then a number of elements that had previously been county-wide we have customized for each local area plan because they kind of change a little bit depending on where you are in the lake. And that is land use, circulation that talks about our roads and transportation, open space, conservation and recreation, which could include our parks, environmental justice, which is a brand new element required by the state with this cycle, with this update. And it talks about communities that are typically disenfranchised or disconnected from long-range planning efforts. This could be our homeless populations, our senior populations, low-income populations, tribal areas, a few other groups like that, Spanish-speaking or non-English-speaking groups. And the point of doing this element or this topic is to make sure that these groups that usually don't have a voice are not missed in this long-range planning effort. Public facilities and services, economic development, and special study areas and design guidelines. So not every area has design guidelines, but some of these planning areas do. And so that is specific definitely to planning area, because like the old Western theme of Upper Lake is similar to Middletown, but very different from Kelseyville. So we want to make sure that we're capturing each community-specific design guidelines according to each planning area. Next slide, please. This is a whole bunch of writing that just tells you everything, all the different chapters and parts and pieces of the entire Lake County 2050 project. Land use map. So we have two maps that guide land use in Lake County. One is the general plan land use designation map, and that is part of Lake County 2050. The second one is the Lake County zoning map. And by law, these two maps have to synchronize. They have to agree. So right now we're working on the land use designation map, which tells us what the community wants to see and where they want to see it. So for instance, in Kelseyville, we talked about moving some medium to high density housing over into those larger parcels that are just across the street from the school, because it served that priority of the safe routes to schools, so that our kids aren't walking to school on the side of the road, you know, during a high traffic area or time. Similarly for Lakeport, the LAPAC meetings stressed that they wanted a priority or a goal to support the city's effort to annex South Main Street. That's reflected in there. Let's see. Oh yeah, so it provides the framework for the zoning map. After the board approves the general plan, including this land use designation map, and it gets certified by the state, that next year, so 2027, is when community development will launch the update of the zoning map to make sure that our zoning, which is what people actually look for when they're wondering, you know, I want to build a house, can I do that here? Or I'd like to build a pizza place over there, how tall can it be? So setbacks, area, parcel coverage, density, all kinds of things that talk about the nitty-gritty stuff that you can really do with your department. That's the zoning map. That's going to, we're going to update that in 2027. Summary of draft elements. Water resources talks a lot about our lake and our watersheds. Agriculture is county-wide because we've got ag all over Lake County, and it talks about how we can preserve the finite amount of prime ag soils that we have. Health and safety, now this talks about a number of things. We did a climate vulnerability analysis in year one that took a look at all the various vulnerabilities that Lake County has to changing climate conditions, as well as priorities, listing on priorities and goals for us to stay resilient in the midst of these upcoming changes. That survey report was regional, so we didn't separate the cities. The city of Lakeport and the city of Clear Lake will be able to use that for reference in their future documents. But it also informs our health and safety element, which talks a lot about how to prepare for and be resilient through a lot of nature and man-made hazards. Geothermal resources talks a lot about the geothermal that we have down in the southern part of our county. And noise talks, well, we have highways all over Lake County, and those are generally the large noise generators. And so noise addresses is countywide in that element, talking specifically about how to minimize the impacts of noise as we continue to develop as a county. Land use, I think I've talked enough about that. Circulation talks about how we get to where we want to go in the county. And not just driving around, but it also looks forward to encouraging more multimodal transportation. And then open space and conservation and recreation. This talks about preserving the things that we hold dear, like our wide open vistas and our view sheds on our mountaintops, our ridge lines, things like that. But it also, you will see in this one, it talks a lot about preserving cultural resources and tribal cultural resources. Environmental justice, told you about that. Public facilities and services, talks a lot about not just the buildings that we have, but the services that are essential. So your water and your wastewater, your trash, electricity, gas, fire, things like that, and law enforcement. This is just a little more information on the environmental impact report, the EIR that was done during year 2. It's currently, again, out in draft form. It's only, what, like 500 pages? But it's actually really good reading. I highly recommend you take a look at it. It's so fascinating to think about the changes that people are saying they want to see in the county, and then to see this document in front of you that anticipates the impacts of those changes. They're short. Some of the chapters are short. They have pictures, and yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a very good document. Oh, also, it is open for public review period by law for a certain amount of time, and so that public review period ends on April 24th. Next steps, where do we go from here? So this is where we are now through April 30th. We're reviewing the general plan and all of its attachments and appendices. There is a survey, which is a very simple survey. It's basically, did we miss anything? Did we get anything wrong? And that survey is available at lakecounty2050.org. Please also, through April 24th, feel free to peruse the environmental impact report, particularly for any personal interests like agriculture or safety. If you've got like a certain thing that really you want to make sure we really nail it, just look at that section in the EIR. And let's see, May and June. Oh, one thing that's not listed here is that during the months of March and April, not only are Shannon and I going to all of these municipal advisory committees, but we are also holding, I think, 3 GPAC meetings now. I'm looking at Margot because she serves on the GPAC, as well as at least 2 LAPAC meetings for each planning area. So that's about 16 LAPAC meetings. Some of these meetings will be held in person, like tonight. Some of them will be hybrid, specifically 2 of the GPAC meetings, because they take place at the Board of Supervisors, and some of them will be entirely virtual, like maybe the second LAPAC meeting. So anyway, check lakecounty2050.org to find out the most convenient way for you to link into one of our meetings. May and June, all of this input that we're gathering right now comes back to our team, and we will work on updating these public drafts. And then in fall of 2026 is when we start having noticed public hearings for the general plan and all its documents and pieces and parts before the Planning Commission, as well as before the Board of Supervisors, with the goal of being done late fall. So that gives us like a month or 2 of buffer room in case something goes sideways and we have to do more meetings. Questions and discussion? Yes, Greg?
You mentioned earlier about the name of Lakeport being the west side,
Westlake.
West Lake, I'm sorry. The only thought I have in that is if it's going to be inclusive, would the rest of the lake be the east side or the south side? In other words, or is it going to be an individual thing? I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just wondering what our audience that's coming here and wants to move here or develop, how that would relate to pin and heat down for them.
Yeah, great question. So Upper Lake, we did have a planning area called the Upper Lake Nice planning area, but now Lucerne's going to switch over and join Upper Lake Nice, and so it'll be Blue Lakes, Upper Lake Nice, Lucerne. And so we're going to call that North Lake. Then the shoreline communities, which really aren't all shoreline, it would include Glen Haven down through Spring Valley, which is is that right? Yes. I guess Spring Valley and Anderson Springs in my head mixed up sometimes. So yeah, all the way down through Spring Valley, that's not Lakeside, into the part around the unincorporated area of Clear Lake. That's going to be South Lake, or no, East Lake. Yeah, so we're going to have an East Lake, a North Lake. If Lakeport went over to West Lake, then we just don't have a South Lake because Lower Lake and Middletown are two separate ones, as are Kelseyville and Cobb Mountain. So it would fit right in there. Yeah. Anybody else? I love questions.
And then the meeting on the 23rd that's coming up. Is that more of a coordination meeting or just part of the meeting schedule? It's Monday the 23rd, isn't it?
Is that the LAPAC meeting that we talked
Yeah.
about? Good, thank you. So that is our opportunity to get the 3 LAPAC members that we have from Lakeport together with any members of the public that are interested to talk over specifically the Lakeport planning area element. See, and gather feedback for, did we miss anything? Did we get anything wrong? And that sort of thing. Anything need to be tweaked?
So that's our chance to really get in there, and any confusion, questions, or thoughts we want to reinforce, that's the place to be.
Absolutely.
At
And
5 o'clock.
we're going to use, thank you, we're going to use this document as our basis. It has just a collection of all the goals for countywide elements, as well as then the second part of it is the goals for the Lakeport planning area element. And so we'll use this sort of as a guide or a launch point to talk about the Lakeport planning area goals to see if we've missed anything or gotten anything wrong. But you want to say that date again, Greg?
Pardon me?
Want to say that date again?
I thought it was the 23rd of next Monday, the 23rd at 5 o'clock at the Board of Supervisors Chamber.
Yes, sirree, Bob. That's it. Well done.
Not bad for getting old.
No, you got it.
Are there any other questions online? Anybody have a question from online? Okay, from the committee board, anybody on the board, the committee? Yes, Joe.
I do have a question. So, thank you, first of all. So I've been reading and trying to keep up with the Clear Lake sewage spill. And the question is, how would the general plan kind of guide us along to make sure nothing like that happens again? Would it have an effect, or can it have an effect?
Yes, thank you. That is an excellent question. So one of the elements, the public facilities and services element, talks about the services that are provided by either the county or special districts. That includes wastewater. And so one thing that we'll be looking for to make sure that we got right in there, which I would really appreciate it if you wanted to take a look at that section, just to make sure that investing in maintaining our infrastructure is listed as one of the strong priorities, not just in that one simple goal, but I could see how it could filter into other types of goals as well. So if you wouldn't mind reviewing that and let me know if you don't think it's covered strongly enough. But that is the one chapter of the general plan where you should see it really strongly reflected. Because that's where, when special districts is applying for grants, that's where they're going to show, you know, in case the government didn't already know that our wastewater treatment is really important, that's where it would show that.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Are there any other questions? Okay, Sky, let me get Sky and then Margot. Go ahead, Sky.
I can do this one, Thomas.
Oh, it's okay, we have an extra one.
Okay.
Thank you. So, yeah, I had three things, at least, but two important ones, is, you know, over here in the Lakeport area, probably the biggest thing that's happened in... Closer, that good? Okay. Thank you. So, in the Lakeport area here, one of the big things that's changed in recent history has been the Big Valley Market and Fuel. So it brings to mind, I didn't hear you address tribal lands in any of your comments, I may have missed it, but does this document relate to tribal lands, and how do the tribal lands development such fit into this?
Thank you. That's a great question. The tribal lands that are in trust are like us having a little mini Spain or a little mini France within Lake County. They are their own sovereign nation. And the county does not have jurisdiction over lands that are within trust. So, but what we do have, what we did do with this Lake County 2050 is spend a considerable amount of time with the tribes to make sure that tribal communities, as part of Lake County community as a whole, that their priorities are also reflected. One of those top priorities is the preservation of tribal cultural resources. And so you'll see in not just the Lakeport area element, but also the countywide, you'll see much more introduction and emphasis on tribal ecological knowledge getting applied, or preservation of tribal cultural resources when we're planning our new road systems and things like that. But we do not have the jurisdiction to say you can have a gas station or not. We can't.
Or how many pumps it can have, or any of that.
Or how many pumps it can have, or no, the depth of your tank things, or no.
Yeah, because the recent, change in world politics and the price of fuel has really, really increased the patronage down there. Anyway, so it's kind of a big question mark.
Indeed.
Yeah, okay. Good
But
deal.
it's not a question mark that the county has any jurisdiction over.
Right, well, good thing. Thank you for that. And then the other thing was, I don't really know, how is the issue of ag land preservation dealt with in the general plan? And I always, one of my big things, I've brought this up many times, and I know Supervisor Brown previously, he kind of had like a 20-year outlook on it, and I always threw out, well, I think we really should have a 200-year outlook on it, and then I kind of compromise at 100 years, and I thought that's maybe a nice, a negotiating point, but ag land preservation is, how does the general plan address that?
There are a number of ways that it deals with, or that it addresses, the priority of preserving land. One is in the minimum lot size that talks about, which it will remain 40 acres, which it had been during the last update. There are also discussions on types of uses that are appropriate, and oh, this is a side note. One of the priorities that came from the surveys was the community's interest in diversification of businesses that an agricultural related business could operate, like the wineries integrating distilleries or breweries on their winery property. Things like that, where we can sort of stretch out and increase the number of opportunities for our agricultural businesses to survive. And other than that, I don't know offhand the other ways to preserve ag land that's listed in there, but I know that that is the main theme of that, is preserving the agricultural lands and supporting the agricultural industries.
Well, that's a great segue, because in our own advisory council here, I know I have proposed a limited adaptation of a 5-acre retail agricultural zone. So anyway, that's something we'll probably be discussing.
Like creating a new zone?
Well, I don't know the planning process well enough to say, but I think so, yeah. But somewhere 5 acres designed for retailing of agricultural products, lots of details to it,
It would be really cool if you came to the LAPAC meeting so we could talk about that more, because I'm interested in hearing more about that.
Well, I've got a delegated representative working on that, I think.
Okay, excellent. And sometimes, if it's something that we cannot accomplish and add into this, we can add in like a goal or an implementation action to look into it, during the period of this general plan. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
And again, I emphasize, anybody that has input or is confused about anything, you attend that Monday meeting.
No? Do you want to talk about the SALT grant? You can talk about it better than I can. Oh, we have a representative. Oh, good. Sky. Let's keep talking
Okay, well, hold
about-
on, point of order, Corey.
Yeah,
Before I promised Margot would go next, so let's allow her, and then we'll.
Oh, public. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead, Margot.
Thank you, Maria and Mr. Chair. It's my understanding that there's part of Scotts Valley is in District 3. Yes? No?
Do you mean supervisorial district?
Yes.
Then I'm not sure. I didn't come here looking. Yes, Chief says yes.
Yeah, so I'm concerned about those residents. They're probably not clued in that, oh, I should be paying attention to the Lakeport area plan.
Good question. Yeah, that's a good point. Because one of the modifications, this is an older map, and I don't think it shows the proposed change of absorbing into Lakeport area all of Scotts Valley all the way up to the highway. So it would not include Blue Lakes, that would still stay with North Shore, but it would include all of Scotts Valley, because it doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about a planning area to cut a community in half. So yeah, the map's going to change for that. Luckily, we've been doing advertising by planning area and not supervisorial district, because, you know, that changes after every census. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Margot.
Yeah, that boundary is mainly about the residents that live in there, and that was with a consideration of reestablishing the boundary to cover the main port of the residents that live within that area, so that was not part of that consideration.
Yeah, just like when we were talking with Upper Lake or Nice and Lucerne, they sort of, like Nice Lucerne sort of goes together. They sort of self-identified as kind of pretty much the same community. And so that's why Lucerne decided to move over into the other planning area. It doesn't have anything to do with grant funding or any kind of fiscal or political thing. It's actually more just of a sort of an intuitive process where the Lakeport makes sense to have all of Scotts Valley. Nice makes sense that Lucerne's going to come on over. And so those are some of the discussions that we had in year one. If it pleases the council, I would love for Noah to come talk about how the
Go ahead.
SALT grant is also supporting agriculture, and then move over to Lisa Judd to talk about pro-housing. But this will conclude my part of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Just to address, it's Sky, right? Your question, Sky, about ag conservation and preservation. There are a limited number of goals in the general plan related to ag preservation, but what we've done in addition to that, and this kind of spun out of an early ag stakeholders meeting that we had early in this process. I'm not sure if you attended in the Board of Supervisors chambers, but out of that, we applied for a grant with the Resource Conservation District it's a grant called Sustainable Ag Lands Conservation, and we're working very closely with RCD on some policies that we would move forward beyond the general plan that are specific to ag preservation and conservation. So I'll let Noah talk a little bit about the goals of that grant that we're partnered with the RCD on.
How close do I get to it? Is that microphone? Yes. So my name is Noah Cornell. I work for the Lake County Resource Conservation District. I am the Sustainable Agricultural Program Manager. And yeah, this past year we applied in cooperation with the County Community Development Department for a Sustainable Agricultural Lands Planning Grant, which is funded through the Department of Conservation in California. And the goal of the program is to prevent urban-suburban sprawl and keep agricultural land, or to preserve agricultural land. And so it's a $500,000 award that contains multiple elements, but the broad thrust of the program is to gather both sort of a core team of stakeholders in that ag world in Lake County, and that team includes Resource Conservation District, CDD, the Farm Bureau, NCO, which is a nonprofit that works in food systems here in Lake County, a tribal government, and a bunch of others, the Lake County Wine Grape Commission, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's kind of a broad inquiry into, you know, what is the state of agriculture in Lake County right now? What does the future of agriculture look like? We're all committed to preserving the agricultural legacy in Lake County, and what strategies are available to do that, both in keeping farmers farming as well as protecting the agricultural aesthetic of Lake County, right? So we have this core team, we're asking questions and discussing them, and then the team is reaching out to the public, both producers, farmers, ranchers, and everybody else to join that conversation and hopefully come up with some ideas, some policies that will hopefully complement the county's work, the incredibly robust work around the general plan update, and also lead to future acquisition of funds that will go into the actual preservation of ag lands in the future. And that's it, I think. Please stay tuned to the county's policy, and we'll also be reaching out and having similar public forums where folks can come in and talk about preserving ag land in Lake County through that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Lisa, you're up to the bat here. And we thank you for coming all this way. And the floor is yours.
See if I can get this microphone right. I feel like it's always at the wrong angle. Good evening, council and everyone here this evening. Lisa Judd, Deputy County Administrative Officer for Housing. I'm here this evening to talk about pro-housing designation and what exactly that means. The Department of Thank you. The California Department of Housing and Community Development put forward an initiative for to meet the state's housing goals, and that's part of the pro-housing designation. Essentially, that is to go ahead and implement policies and procedures to facilitate housing production, things like streamlining the process and reducing any barriers down to the minimum wherever possible and feasible. In that, the pro-housing designation, what does it do for us? Well, it allows us to have funding. We all know for housing, we need money. And in order to get that money that's very little out there right now in the federal landscape, that we need to be competitive. So this allows us to be competitive in getting some grants that some of them you have to have the pro-housing designation in order to get. Others give us additional points so that when, especially with a rural, rural jurisdictions, we have a harder time competing against the larger entities so that we can get those housing grants. And so by pro-housing designation, we are pushing for this one. We have an opportunity to get funding with something called the Pro-Housing Incentive Program, and we're trying to go ahead and submit that application by the end of the month. And it's an ambitious thing in government to do that in such a short time frame. But I think that it is well worthwhile, and there are several grants that are listed here that give us a competitive edge to give you an idea. And what does the application entail? Essentially, there's 4 components. We have to get a certain number of points for each category. We have to have something in each category. There are favorable zoning and land use, acceleration of housing production timeframes, reduction of construction and development costs, and providing financial subsidies. And then there's some other categories we can do for enhancement factors so that we're more competitive. And all of these things are what we've already received community input. There was a housing action and implementation plan. Hopefully you have all seen that, where we did extensive community engagement as well, and also in the housing element. So we're using those things in there to pick and choose the different things in the categories. So the state doesn't force us to do everything on the list. We can pick and choose the things that make sense for our community. And many of those, fortunately, we already have in place, so those were the best of them. And then others were things that we are proposing to do and that we will be taking action on making that happen. And I want to point out that we are trying to get feedback, and I know everyone is tired of maybe surveys, and there's a lot, but I promise you this one's super short. You probably have seen it already. I think it's like 5 questions. And it does allow some feedback from you. So we really hope that you take a moment. There's a QR code, and if you're not a QR code fan, there's a link that you can go to and fill out that super quick survey and give your feedback. Yes, if you go under County of Lakes website and you go to administration, and there's a housing section on the far left, scroll down to that and it'll take you there as well. And if you're also interested, if you didn't get a chance to look at the Housing in Action Implementation Plan, there's information about that in the Housing Trust Fund in that same section. So I encourage you to take time and look at that as well. I know your time is valuable, but I want to take a moment and see if you had any questions or thoughts.
Yeah, so we, the members have any questions on it, Joel or Jarrett?
I have one. Right, reacting to this a little bit. Transit and intercity rail capital program. Would there be a possibility of having a rail of some kind between here and, say, Kelseyville?
I mean, anything's possible. I think a lot of these, like that particular category is something that is kind of, again, geared towards those larger jurisdictions.
Okay. Just one.
But that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jarrett, any?
I like the fun thought there.
I like the ferry from here to Clear Lake Oaks. Yeah, Jarrett, do you have any questions? No. Online, I think we have a question, please. Angela, go ahead.
Thank you. Real quick, Lisa, we had sent you my name's Angela Emerald. I had sent you an email about the survey, and there was, Clear Lake Oaks is not on the survey. And then there was a couple other questions. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it yet. Do you know, can you get back to me in the next few days or something?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely will get back to you. I'm sure I can answer that email tomorrow. I don't know about Clear Lake Oaks, why that wasn't included, but I have that noted so that we can make that change if needed. And I apologize that that wasn't there.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Tom.
Just a clarification question. When you say jurisdiction, you're looking at the entire county, not a subset of the county?
Yes, the pro-housing designation is for the County of Lake.
Okay.
And cities can as well apply for that. And I know that when I talked about it, originally when the pro-housing designation came out, it came out as an incentive so that you can be competitive, but we're already finding, as Supervisor Sabatier has found as the COC chair, that in order to get those HHJP, sorry for the acronym, 6th round, that you had to have the pro-housing designation. So they're already kind of changing it from this like carrot that they're dangling to something that needs to be in place.
Okay, thank you.
And Margot, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Lisa, for your presentation. Question. Pro-housing designation, can you explain how that relates to farm worker housing, if at all?
So I think many of the things in the pro-housing designation kind of center and focus around policies and procedures to facilitate and streamline, but you can do different things in each of those categories, but we again are putting that on what the community feedback is for the things that we chose. And one of the things we learned very strongly in the Housing Action and Implementation Plan is that this community wants to preserve the rural character, so those are things that we would stay away from as far as any change of ag land or rezoning. So we're really keeping in alignment for those possible rezoning changes to be what the community is asking for.
Anybody else in the audience? The lectern's in the way, so you're gonna have to wave at me. Okay, I don't see anybody else. Lisa, we want to thank you for your evening with us, spending your time with us with your smile. In fact, Maria and everybody, thank you for your smiles and information today, and thank you for your good work being with the county and caring.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And like I
being here.
said, everybody, if you care, show up Monday, the 23rd at 5 o'clock to the Board of Supervisors chamber and give me your input. So this is your chance. It's like a free pass. Go get it. Okay, let's move along into the next item here. We'll be moving into the real quick, we'll take up the dates of the of the meeting, and I have for the year, this is being in March, so we're looking at April 20th, May 18th, June 15th, July 20th, August 17th, September 21st, October 19th, and November 16th, no meeting in December. Can the board go ahead and approve this agenda for the annual, for the year, for the meetings? We have missed all the holidays we could on this.
I move we accept this
Okay, second?
as you read it.
Oh, I'd second that.
Okay,
yes.
motion. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The meeting is, the dates for the year have been established. Next, we'll move into updates, calendars, and miscellaneous reports. Item D, news and updates from District Super. Yes.
About your ad hoc committee on that. I think there's some confusion here on the agenda.
Yeah, there is. I'm sorry.
Because it's not matching up with what we have posted.
Pardon me?
It seems to be out of sync with what.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I got mixed up.
Yeah, so we have the general plan ad hoc committee item, and then any discussion on the bylaws? Or, I know you said you were gonna pass that.
We're going to pass that for next meeting.
Okay.
So,
So prior to the updates, you have an agendized item for
yeah.
the general plan committee that's been working on.
And does anybody have any input on that ad hoc committee? Go ahead, Margot, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The work group on the general plan updates and the local area plan updates has been meeting, and we are on draft 6. We don't have a draft ready for your review yet. I do want to offer some floor time for any of the work group members that would like to engage the council and the assembly on any
Oh, here we go,
discussion
yeah.
of anything that we've been working on, for example, on ag. So
Not bad.
if anybody would like to, anybody from the work group would like to have a topic discussed at this time, I yield to you. To Jared, to Sky, if you have.
Yeah, the committee, Joel, do you have anything, Jarrett?
No, thank you.
Yeah, hang on just a second.
Okay.
Margot, so has this draft 6 kind of gone out now for people to look at yet, or what's?
I wanted work group review first, input first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have anything specific myself right now.
Thank you.
Anybody from the audience, Sakai?
So I think the most significant thing that I've suggested is the idea of having a limited, both in where it would be and how long it would go on for, but anyway, some kind of limited evaluation of a 5-acre minimum for, you could either call it retail ag, you know, I don't know, some high density ag, for various ag uses that the old, like, I know they just shoot off 40-acre minimum, and I remember that being explained to me, I mean, many years ago was, well, yeah, we want that because we don't want the public to be out in the ag areas. Straightforward, straight off the hip, that was the goal of the 40-acre minimum, was to create ag areas where there's no reason for anybody but a farmer or a person doing business with a farmer would go there. And so I'm sort of suggesting a look at challenging that, not to get rid of it. I think that's a valid concept for a lot of production agriculture, but also to maybe, you know, modify it and integrate it with some other agricultural things that have the ability to be economically viable.
You know, I think that at Monday's meeting, that needs to be presented. I think if you could be there to explain that, because that is the input session of this local plan as well as the county plan, is to try to emphasize that caveat to the 40-acre plan.
Now, what was that acronym again? I'm having a hard time with the acronyms. The LA blah, blah.
Lay factor, whatever it's called.
LAPAC, okay? Oh, that's great, okay. LAPAC, wasn't it?
But if you could be there Monday to bring that to life, I think that is needed input, and it should, you know, people feel strong. This is your chance to really nail putting that stuff together.
Great. Okay, so that's probably the biggest thing that I suggested in these discussions, and I think, Margot, you've got it at the point where the committee is supposed to consider whether they want to advocate for that, or whatever the right term is for that, yeah. And then, you know, there are a number of other, you know, smaller things involved there. One thing I said is, you know, I've suggested that, you know, the list of crops or enterprises that are involved in this, whatever document we're dealing with here, they don't deal with livestock, they don't deal with aquaculture, they don't deal with, you know, they just don't have they don't have dairy in there, you know, there's just all these things, no poultry, you know, they're not included in there, you know, in the 40-acre minimum. That's an idea. I mean, I'm sure Jared remembers back when they said, well, you know, and I was asked, why a 40-acre minimum? He says, well, that's a family farm unit in pears, grapes, or walnuts. Great, solid concept. But, you know, now the times are changing and things are changing, and maybe need to get a little wider perspective on that. So there are lots of details to all this, but that's a quick summary of it.
Thank you,
you.
Sky. That concludes our update, Mr. Chair. Unless, Jared, do you have other comments?
No, that's a good thing. You've been working on that a long time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's come a long ways, and I think it's coming out really clear and catching all the really critical stuff. So anyway, thank you.
So anyway, we reviewed the bylaws. We're going to bring that back. Pardon?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, so it sounds like the next Scotts Valley meeting, they'll go over hopefully the full plan of comments or am I confused on that?
So next step, I want to get input from the work group, because it sounds like Jared's okay with it, sounds like Sky's okay with it. I haven't heard from Jody. So out of courtesy, I would like to get Jody's okay, and then we can present it to the board and the assembly for comment.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
So don't go away, Brad, because we're gonna bring back the bylaw revision for next meeting, since we want to get more committee input and review done. So on the update calendars, we now have news and updates from District 4 Supervisor Brad Rasmussen.
One more thing, Greg. There was another kind of major thing I suggested, that I thought that the 40-acre agricultural minimum should be reevaluated, and perhaps it should be considered to be substituted to a 20-acre just generalized ag zoning. But, you know, I think the 40-acre minimum, again, it's from yesteryear, from old economics, and from a limited selection of crops. So I was suggesting to look carefully at two different ideas, two different minimums, 20-acre minimum and or a 5-acre, probably, and I like the term retail ag thing, but maybe not exactly that.
And Margot, would Jody and Jarrett be the ones that be addressing that with you, that what Sky was referring to? Yes. So if we can get Jody and Jarrett to listen to what Sky is offering to work with you to apply that would be moving forward. Mr. Supervisor Brad Rasmussen, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing I just want to mention, Community Development wanted to leave these papers because we're going to have a lot of people here next weekend. So maybe it's an opportunity for folks to grab copies of those, since we'll have 100 people.
I'll put them in the kitchen so they're
Okay.
available for next week.
And then as far as my report goes, I want to let you know tomorrow on our consent agenda, we have an item that's for the Watershed Protection District to approve agreements for fish and wildlife management and planning services. The one is titled Task A in the amount of $672,000, and one is Task B in the amount of $476,000. The Task A is going to be basically to approve hiring a firm to do a study to identify barriers for possible removal in the Scotts Creek area that would improve fish habitat. The other thing that you won't see in this is that they're going to take that $100,000 that we dedicated to Scotts Valley for the flood study from District 4 funds, and they're going to have that same firm also add on and do that flood study. So the benefit is, since we're already hiring a firm to do this other work, and they're qualified to do the flood study also, we can get it done at a lot lower cost than if we had to go out and just hire an engineering firm separately just for the flood study. It would be a lot more than tacking on $100,000 to this contract, if that makes sense. So, but because we only have a year to spend the $672,000 for that part of it, that's going to be the first work that's done, and then they'll start the flood study sometime down the road after they get started, because we don't have a time limit on that. So if they don't get it all done in the 12 months, it's still okay. We can continue on to get that flood study done. And so, and then the benefit of having these studies, whether it's the flood study or the barrier removal items, then we have valid data where we can seek other funding to do some projects in this area. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, I wasn't quite clear what the task B was.
Okay, the task B is actually in the Highland Springs area, but I'll tell you what it is. It's to basically study the flows in both Highland Creek and Adobe Creek, and also look at the dam, the Highland Springs Dam, and the operations of the dam for possible future improvements in the waterways there as well. So it's outside the Scotts Valley area, but these are two separate items that we're looking at going to this same firm, or get them done at the same time.
So would that study, would they be also looking at a possible levee breakdown and also road raising, or?
Anything that is related to flooding could be looked at. So that could include the levees and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to get Water Resources out here, maybe the engineering firm, to take questions and comments from the committee.
You got a question on the side there,
Yeah,
Brad?
I don't have all the details on how that's going to look, but I know it's designed to look at any issues out here in the valley that could be contributing to the flooding, and is there a way to mitigate it?
That sounds like a positive, proactive stance. You got a question on the other side?
Yeah.
Brad? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I've got a question.
yeah.
Brad, thank you. I had a couple questions. Number one, what's the timeline to get the study back from this firm that will be hired?
For the barrier removal part of it, 12 months.
12 months, and the other part of it?
Hopefully not too much longer after that, but we're under restrictions we have to do this project in 12 months for the barrier removals.
Okay.
So we want to get the flood study done quickly too, but the reason that it's going to be the secondary part of this Scotts Valley work is because if that takes longer, we don't want to risk not getting the other part of it done in the 12 months.
Okay, okay, thanks. Now, and let me go to another point, which is, I think you mentioned repairing or maybe it's in something I've read this evening, repairing or maintaining the levees alongside of Scotts Creek, or removing the levees, if everybody agreed to that, which I think is kind of a radical idea, but it's worth looking at. So will the studies consider the levees and how they need to be maintained? As it is, as far as I can tell, it's every person for himself, and every levee is the responsibility of the owner. And I think that's a little odd if the county was originally the entity that built the levees altogether.
Well, I don't know that it's a known fact that the county built them. It could have been the landowners.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't here for sure.
And nor was I. Unfortunately, I don't have a solid answer for you on that question you're asking. I'm going to have to research with the water resources and see if we can get you an answer on how that's going to be looked at.
I think the flooding that I've experienced the worst one was in 2019. It was a levee breach down by the gated culvert. And this last winter, there was another breach of the levee. So when we talk about flooding, those are the first things that come into my mind. And it may be difficult for those homeowners to maintain the levees.
Right.
So I hope that would be addressed.
Well, those are valid questions, and I think, what I can try to work on is figure out how we can get an opportunity for this committee to provide input to this firm that's going to be doing this work.
Okay.
So I'll talk to Water Resources about that and see if we can get them out here, or at least get you some answers.
That'd be super. Thank you.
Yeah. And then the last part of the report would be that regarding that Scotts Valley Water Conservation District that I reported on, at this point, everything has been sent to the local area formation commission to start the process of the dissolution of that district. So I know we've talked about it a couple times, but just want to let you know that's now in LAFCO's hands. Once they finish their process, to come back to the Board of Supervisors for the final wrap-up of that agency, which would include what to do with the money they hold. And my intent, being this is my district, is that money go to the Water Resources Department, but have to be spent on a project in the footprint of where that district existed, which is out here in the main part of Scotts Valley. Because I think it's only appropriate that money has to be spent where it came from on a project beneficial to that area. So that's what I will be trying to seek when it comes back to the Board of Supervisors.
That makes
In fact,
sense.
I think the law is pretty much...
Okay. That certainly makes common sense, but it also makes sense to me, given that the levee up here that breached in whatever last winter, December, January, is going to need improvement. Somebody's going to have to pay for it. I don't know if the owners have the money to pay for it,
Right.
and I don't know how much it costs. But and the break in the sewage system down in Clear Lake reminds me that these things ought to be maintained. So the levee ought to be maintained is another thing where we don't want the water to be overflowing into all our properties.
Right. No, those are good questions. I just don't, unfortunately, have confirmed answers on any of that tonight.
Okay, thanks.
But
Thank you. Thank you for watching.
yeah. And they don't have, I think they have $25,000, so it's not a lot of money when you're talking about major projects. But nonetheless, it should be spent on something in the footprint of where the district existed. So,
Yeah.
unless there's any other questions, that would conclude my report for tonight.
I believe Sky has a question.
Yes, Guy?
I still believe that anytime we talk about the levees, or we talk about
It sounded like it was on. Is the light green, Sky?
Okay, whenever we talk about flows in Scotts Creek and we talk about flooding, it seems clear to me that we have to concentrate on reducing the flows in Scotts Creek. And we've got a tremendous upstream watershed there. We don't have any, I've never heard ever, in many years of attending these meetings, had anybody from the BLM have commitment to reducing the flows or controlling the peak flows that flow into Scotts Creek. We can raise our levees all we want. We can remove the obstructions in the flows of the creek, but we can't keep up with the unmitigated increase in flows coming out of the Cow Mountain Recreation Area. We got to get tough with these feds and get them to come to task to controlling these peak flows. I mean, we can't build these levees high enough. And we can't be sure, we'll never be sure that we're going to have them high enough as long as we don't know what's going on in the upstream watershed. And it's just like, it's half the length of Scotts Creek is up there, right? Beyond where it comes in down into our little section here that we're worried about, down near the gated culvert. It must be 10 miles of Scotts Creek upstream from there.
Yeah, the headwaters come out of Cow Mountain.
Yeah, we got it. A few years ago, we had, that guy was down, when we were meeting at City Hall, we got him on the Zoom, and I presented that question to him, and he just got scared, turned around and ran, and never wanted to come back to our meetings again.
Well, I think, Sky, I don't have an answer for that right now. It's a complex issue, obviously, and probably why it's taken that many years, but we have been trying to work on getting BLM out here to talk to us, and I just got a call from their new manager, and he wants to have a discussion, so that's another opportunity. I can see if I can get him out here to this meeting to just be available to at least answer some questions, maybe tell us some of those things. So we'll keep working on it. That's the best I can have on that right now. Any other, I think we're good then.
I don't see anything. Thank you for the report, Brad. That's encouraging to hear that we have a contractor looking at doing these things. That's I gotta tell you, that's a refreshing thing after the last couple of years.
Yeah,
And the
I'm so
approach.
jazzed that we're actually gonna deal with these fish barriers that have been a blatant thing forever, so that's super.
Okay, ongoing observations regarding groundwater, fire mitigation, Scotts Valley infrastructure. Anybody have anything to add to this committee-wise? Anybody else? Not hearing any. We'll move on from E to F, upgrades, update on upcoming hearings, new permits, projects involving the Scotts Valley watershed or county government activities. I think we pretty well covered it. Go ahead, Margot. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On April 7th, an agenda item will be continued on the Board of Supervisors agenda, and that is to consider the amendments to the cannabis ordinance. Thank
That's
you.
amendment to which again?
Amendments to the cannabis ordinance.
Oh, okay, thank you. Very good. Yeah, they've been working on that. I've been watching that.
When's the date on that again, please?
April 7th.
April 7th.
And G, the next one, council member updates and calendar items. Anything, Joel, that you have for any updates?
No, thank you.
Jarrett?
No.
And the chair has none, so with that in regards, we got through our agenda today. Thank you, everybody. I thought it was very informative to have the county folks here with their 2050 plan to share with us, and I certainly see this project hopefully in the future bringing a lot of focus. But the main thing is allowing us to give input into what we want. So again, I would challenge everybody to show up Monday at the meeting with your input. Any other items? Not hearing any? Nobody online? Okay, I call this meeting adjourned at whatever time it is.